Hi there. Just like I did for history, science this week, I gave you some links to some interesting little videos on YouTube that have to do with wetland regions. We've got swamps, marshes, bogs, okay? I'll just read this to you and you'll have out your science. You'll have pages 59 to 62, so turn to 59, okay? But wetlands, it says wetlands have soggy and sometimes flooded soil. Wetlands fall into three main types. You've got your marshes, which have soft stemmed grasses and rushes coming out of the water. You've got your swamps, which have trees and shrubs, and you have your bogs, which have peat moss. Okay, wetland facts, they're found in all climates. Plants have adapted to the wet soil, and they support a wide variety of animals. So, page 59 in your science packet says freshwater and wetland regions, okay? So, why don't we read that together? A freshwater region is a habitat that has a river, lake, pond, or stream with little or no salt in the water. So would an ocean be included in that description? No, why not? Because an ocean has a lot of salt, you're right. Look at the pictures. Identify the freshwater habitats by writing the correct letter on the line in front of each habitat description. So let's go on down to number 1. Okay, what does that say? Right, this habitat carries water to a river. The water moves quickly. Few plants grow in the water. This habitat carries water to a river. So I see something that looks like a stream or a brook, where it looks like the water is rushing quickly, because we can tell because it's kind of white and foamy. And there are very few plants that grow in the water, so that would be letter D. You're right. Number 2, this habitat is smaller than a lake. The water is still. It has many plants that grow in or around it. Do you see? Do you think it's A, or do you think it's C? Well, it says it's smaller than a lake, so it looks like it would be A, and I would probably call that a pond, right? Okay, number 3. This habitat is fed by rivers, rain, and melting snow. The water is still. The water can be very deep. Also, the water can be very cold because it's fed by melted snow. Would that be C? Right. You think of Lake Tahoe for one. Okay, number 4. This habitat has more water than a stream. So it's a little bit wider than a stream. And the water moves quickly and plants grow along its banks. The only one left would be B. Okay, and that would be a river. So D is more of a stream. A is a pond. C is a lake, and B would be a river. Okay, so turn to page 60, and when you're ready, let's go. A wetland is a habitat where the land is wet and soggy most of the time. Mention that here. Bogs, marshes, and swamps are all wetlands. A marsh can form along a river. It fills with water when the river floods. Small, grassy plants and water lilies grow well in the water. A marsh provides food and shelter for many animals. Here are some of them. Mosquitoes, dragonflies, frogs, and snakes live in a marsh. Dragonflies eat mosquitoes, frogs eat dragonflies, and snakes eat frogs. What do we call that? A food, somewhat of a food chain. Except it didn't really go around, did it? Oh, yes, it did. Yes, it did. Okay, A swamp is like a marsh, but it has more trees than grassy plants. The Florida Everglades and the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia are swamps located in the United States. Certain trees, like cypress trees, grow well in a swamp. This habitat is home to many animals such as frogs, snakes, cranes, and alligators. Exactly why I have no plans on visiting Florida. So let's look down at number 1. See a beautiful tiger there in the marsh. Choose one freshwater or wetland animal from this chapter. So you can go back, find an animal, and you can be able to write about that. What characteristics help it survive in a water habitat? So pick an animal that you want to write about, and write about what characteristics would help it survive in a water habitat. Think about the way, does it have webbed feet? Is it an amphibian? So on and so forth. Now number 2 says, name a freshwater habitat whose water flows. Whose water flows. Does a pond have water that flows, or does it just sit there? It just sits there, right? And so does a lake. So that would be either a stream or a river. So name a freshwater habitat whose water flows. One possible answer, and you don't have to write in a sentence, okay? You can just write the answer. A stream or river. Let me get out of the way. So that would be your answer. No need for capitals or periods because that's just an answer. That's not a sentence. If you want to get fancy and do a complete sentence, more power to you. Go for it. Number 3, what is true of both a marsh and a swamp? What is the same about these guys? Let's make a sentence. They both get very little rain. They both have very little water. They both have no plants. They both are wet and soggy most of the time. I think that would be the answer. They both are wet and soggy. You step on the ground and you go, sucks you in most of the time. Okay, you can pause the video to finish writing that, and then when you're ready you can come back to page 61, and here we're looking at a desert habitat. Some people absolutely love deserts. I've not been a big fan, but that doesn't mean I'm right. I've not seen the desert in all of the seasons, and it can be very beautiful. Alrighty, if you're ready, let's kind of read this together. Desert habitats receive very little rainfall as opposed to the wetlands. Some get very hot during the day, and then they can get very cold at night. God designed certain plants and animals with characteristics that help them live in desert climates. Remember what our definition for biome was? I will turn this. Remember, it is a community of plants and animals that have common characteristics for their environment. So that's a definition of a biome or even a habitat. Okay, God designed certain plants and animals with characteristics that help them live in desert climates. Desert animals have coloring or patterns that allow them to blend in with their surroundings. What is that called? Right, camouflage or camouflage. So the first picture, go ahead and read the purple square. This saguaro cactus can store water in its long branches. It has sharp spines for protection. Circle the saguaro cactus's branches. Those are the little arms that go up. Now, for fun, Reading Rainbow has a great video, if you find that on YouTube, on the saguaro cactus, okay? And then the little green one, this cactus wren, this little bird, makes its home in or on a cactus. Circle the spines that protect the cactus and the cactus wren. How do those spines protect the cactus wren? Well, no one's going to attack that wren when it's sitting on all those spikes. And then down at the bottom it says many desert animals are nocturnal, which you know they sleep during the day and they are active at night. Circle the nocturnal desert animal in this picture. What do you think that is? Think it's a wolf? No. Coyote? Probably. Okay, go to page 62. Look at the animals that live in the Mojave Desert. Write the words from the word bank to identify each animal. Okay, I'll just go through this real quick before we run out of time. You can just write the number next to the animal and match it to the line down below, or match it to the word. So the first picture, would that be a roadrunner, a cactus wren, a coyote, a rattlesnake, a lizard, or a jackrabbit? I think you guys know that is a cactus wren, so that would be number 1. And the second animal that you see there going across, you're right, that is a coyote. Well, we're going to have to go down because the numbers aren't matching. So go down to a pile of what? Rattlesnakes. Yes, number 2 is actually rattlesnake. So you could put a 2 up by the word rattlesnake and write it later. Going up now to number 3, to the coyote. Coyote gets a number 3, and then you could write it on the line later. Going down to number 4, that is a jackrabbit, very large ears. And those ears help keep the rabbit cool. And number 5 up on top, that is the famous roadrunner. Okay, so roadrunner would be number 5. And last but not least, you see a lizard for number 6. If you want to find more information on desert and these animals, go on and look up the biome or follow the one that I gave your parents a link to on their email, okay? And enjoy learning more about these biomes. Okay, guys, sorry, I will see you later. Bye-bye. Have a great evening.